Greetings, heroes and force users of all ages, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. As always, I am Dino Nicandros. I am joined by my good friends Alyssa Simmons
Hi.
and Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today we are discussing the latest big screen offering from Marvel Studios, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, directed by Peyton Reed, written by Jeff Loveness. And by God, we're Marvel fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron Man.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Hi.
Hello
there.
fans.
Hello there.
How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
How y'all doing? Screwing.
I've been eager to talk about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Very eager
I
beaver.
think for the first time in perhaps a year, Dino saw this movie before we did.
Yeah.
Ri-
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
You were there. You were there Thursday night. Daniel and I didn't see it
yeah.
until yesterday.
Which is also a new thing for me. I don't remember
Yeah.
the last time that I haven't seen it on opening night. But I couldn't do it because I was going to see my friend and his burlesque show in San Diego, which was great, by the way.
Fantastic.
Yes. Lots of
Lots.
it is lots of nudity, fun things, hilarity. There was giant Acme size condoms that were used as props. It was
Sure. Sure.
very, very fun. But yeah, never has our namesake had more meaning. We're the multiverse of fandom. Here we are, in thrust into a multiversal storyline. Very interesting.
So, I was considering how we would talk about this today.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us
think
how we're
first-
going to talk about this today.
well,
please.
I'm going to tell you what your opinions
Yeah,
of this
good.
movie were.
Good,
that
good.
sounds
And then we're
good.
just going to move on.
Yeah, do
All
that.
right.
Let's hear your thoughts about the movie itself outside of the giant connected universe.
We're doing our
Just
general thoughts.
How
sure.
how this
Generals.
movie works.
Mhm.
And then I think it's worth discussing or taking another temperature check on where Marvel Studios is right now.
And as a whole.
Okay.
And I'll leave it there. And
Great.
That's good. That's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
So, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yeah.
How about your generals, Alyssa?
Okay, I'll begin.
Yeah, I feel like I always am like, I've got something to say.
You do.
I do.
That's
I do.
okay. We love that about you.
I do not, but fine.
Daniel hates
Never
that
does.
about you, but
I
I
hate
like
that.
it. So I will start off by saying first that the trailer fully tricked me.
Oh, interesting.
I did not think this movie was going to be about what this movie was about.
Oh, yeah.
I after seeing the movie, and we can talk about this in a little bit more detail, but
Yeah.
in the trailer, they used Kang's scene with Janet where he's telling her, like, I can give you more time, like, I can take you back.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
They used that and then showed it like he was talking to Scott Lang.
Yes.
So I thought
totally.
this film was going to be about Kang needed something from Scott, which
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what that was.
Yeah.
But he needed something from him, and what he was going to give him in exchange was going back to when Cassie was little.
Yeah, or like before the blip or whatever, so he could
Yeah.
like get the time that he lost.
So he could have the time that was lost.
Totally.
That is
you're
what I thought.
absolutely not wrong.
That's
with
what
that.
is that's what kind of I thought this movie was going to be.
Yeah.
When I realized, 20 minutes into this movie that was not it, then I just was like, oh, okay, that's not at all where I thought we were going, but let's just like sit back and enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's my first general thought, is that it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then so like then what is your overall general thought of the film? Did you enjoy it? Where would you put it in like if you were gonna get it 1 to 5 tauntauns, how many tauntauns would you give it?
5 being the bestest.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
I'm gonna give it like
Should we go 1 to 10 tauntauns? Does that make it easier?
5 is fine.
Okay,
5
great.
is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it like a 3.5.
A 3.5 tauntaun, sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I enjoyed myself. I was
You didn't die.
I was surprised. I didn't die. I was surprised with the Star Wars influence, to be
Oh my
honest.
God.
Yep.
We were saying that the whole time. Like I saw it with Luke, and Luke kept like whispering over to me. It's like, this is like very
This is like a
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars.
I'm like, yeah, totally.
Just the sort of general design of
There's like a cantina
Quantum
scene
Realm.
and like a
the general design of the quantum realm and the creatures.
the Galactic Empire and like the fucking
the fact that the word
army.
empire was used so many
Yeah,
times. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed all the freaky creatures in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
That was fun for me. I loved
super fun.
I loved the broccoli guy and
Yes.
that was fun. I thought there were some funny moments. Paul Rudd is just so damn charming.
He's
that
so charming.
You can't help but just be like,
Gosh darn it.
you're just such a dumb, charming idiot.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I'll say now about my generals.
That feels super duper good general time. Yep. Mm-hmm.
okay.
And honestly,
Daniel.
I'd probably give it around the same amount of tauntauns. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what stood out to you, Daniel?
I mean, that shit was wild. Like, I really didn't know what to expect when it came to the quantum, realm. I mean, I knew it was gonna be weird because like it has to be.
Yeah.
And I think they succeeded with that because like most of the stuff in there was so unexpected and so out there. And I know that they're seemingly pulling from like straight from the comics, so a lot of the stuff is not like, brand new information. But presented in a very beautiful way. I thought it was tons of eye candy. I didn't see it in 3D. I think that might have been like experience.
Yeah.
But
No, thanks.
they actually only had one showing of 3D IMAX at the theater that I went to. It's like you have to go at like noon or something. I was like, okay, so apparently they don't want people to see it in 3D.
That's not the priority.
It's not
this one.
the preference. But yeah, so I was really impressed by just the overall artwork of the film, because it was, it's. I also want to say that like Ant-Man being an Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel, like Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man and the Wasp, their sequel to Ant-Man, those felt like fairly related. Like this one like felt like such a giant leap in a completely different direction for like their little like world.
Sure.
I mean, we definitely still had, them getting bigger and smaller, and there was ants and that sort of thing, but like the general feel of it was very, very different.
Yeah, it sort of felt like how like tonally different Thor 2 and 3 felt.
Yeah.
Like Dark Worlds and Ragnarok.
Totally.
Where you're just like,
it was a big jump.
yes, these are the same characters, but like, whoa, so different.
Yeah, and maybe this is gonna stem into a conversation about your next topic, Dino, that you said about the MCU as a whole. But I wanted to talk about briefly the because I think it's sort of part of my general feelings. That, and you even said this too in a text message, that the Rotten Tomatoes score is like I think it's sitting at 48% right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience score is
It's at 84. Right?
yeah, it's much higher. So
which tracks.
That says something. But I'm trying to completely fully fathom like how it got that low, because like, generally speaking, I like almost always agree with Rotten Tomatoes. It's pretty rare. Like if it's 70 or below, and I don't really care for the subject matter, I'm definitely
You're
not
probably
going to like
not
the
gonna
movie.
see it.
Yeah. And if it's 70 or above and I don't really care about it, I think I might enjoy it. But if it's something I really care about, I might be able to enjoy it if it's like at a 60, but definitely not a 48%. So I'm actually like highly surprised. And maybe that was a good thing that I saw the review, because I wasn't expecting much. And I was like, oh, this isn't nearly as bad as I thought. In fact, it was. I don't even think it was like generally a bad movie. And I think that my thought process, I'm curious what you think, is that the reviewers don't really care because they're looking at each movie, and they have to. They're looking at each movie as its own separate entity.
Yes.
And like, content, does it tell like a full complete arc of a story? And does it make us care about each character's like just in this one thing? And if you are just thinking about it in that terms, it's so hard for me to think about, because I mean, we have like over 10 years of history, with TV shows and films. I don't think I can be unbiased opinion about it. But I think it does. Yeah, we're kind of at the point where you do really need the full weight of the MCU in order to really like care about these people.
Yeah, and I think that will be the second part of our discussion. That is a great point. And I think largely when I left, number one, as I texted you when I walked out, I was like, that movie was not a 48.
No.
Yeah.
Well, so how many Tauntauns would you give it?
You know what? I'd probably 3 out of 5 Tauntauns.
Yeah, that sounds sensible.
The
So
same.
we're kind of all in the same.
Yeah, like what you said, Alyssa. The Star Wars
What
influence.
about what I said?
Nobody
Nope,
cares
gonna
about.
completely glaze
know
over
this,
it.
Daniel. I'm never going to cite anything you say, unless to admonish you.
Come on.
But Alyssa specifically mentioned Star Wars, and yes, I realize you and Luke talked about it afterwards.
Thank you.
But I agree with that assessment. Like the Star Wars influence was very real. I appreciated how different the quantum realm is aesthetically from, and with the characters it's populated by than anywhere else we've been thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's I mean, even in terms of like, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of stuff, it still felt
Right.
They're still like they're very alien.
Yeah.
They're
right. But Alien and I don't really know how to describe it. Alien in a way that's not galactic.
Yeah.
Like it felt it felt like something else entirely, and that's great that they were able to achieve that.
Other than like just like tiny humans, I guess, because that's probably the only part that felt a little like, and they kind of joked about it, but like also, but also glazed over it too. I'm like, wait, could you explain that just a little bit better? Because like, why are there like regular humans in the quantum realm? Like I want to know, but I know that it's like that. I know it was just a thing in the comics, so it's like, do we really need to explain it? But I think that what's his face's character, Bill Murray's,
yeah,
like
Ky-
he kind
Kylar.
of Kylar, right? He said something. He's like, he said, I'm not human, but like, yes, I'm human, kind of, sort of, I guess. Like a humanoid, I guess, is probably a better way to say it. But yeah.
So I've mentioned on the show before that Jeff Loveness went to my university, and I knew him fairly well, and
he never calls anymore, the bastard.
He doesn't call anymore.
He doesn't call, he doesn't write.
But sitting there during the movie, it struck me because he used to write. He wrote all these skits for this sketch comedy show that he produced.
Cool.
And shot, and it struck me that even after all this time, the writing style and the humor sensibility are the same as they always were. And if you've seen Rick and Morty, which he's also responsible for,
yes,
it leaned very heavily into just absolute absurdity and silliness.
For sure.
All the way. And I actually think out of at least any recent Marvel movies, but I would put it in the top 5 Marvel movies that are closest to opening any page of a comic book and just reading it
Yeah.
word for word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they took a comic book and just slapped it on screen,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. And I think in some aspects that worked really well. Like, for instance, with the introduction of kind of a civilization down there in the quantum realm, that
Yeah.
it felt like that had been ripped from
Yeah,
the comics.
absolutely.
And just talking broccoli and an orb discussing his lack of holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, drinking his juice to like understand his voice. I was like, I like the I think that's what got my juices flowing the most in this film was like learning all the new rules that
Sure.
have to do with the Quantumania. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a new rule. Like it's world building, but like realm building, I should say.
Right.
I loved all of it.
Yeah, so that was all super interesting. Kang is a slam dunk,
Yeah.
So great.
scary,
Super scary.
Yeah.
compelling,
Hmm.
complicated villain.
Yeah, and I'm kind of bummed that we're not gonna see this one again, at least. Probably, but maybe I don't. We could talk about that later for sure. But yeah, the fact that we're gonna have to like keep like re-meeting Kang. I'm excited to see all of his different versions, but I'm gonna miss this one because this one like was fucking scary. But
Yeah,
there's other scary ones too.
Jonathan Majors stole the show.
He was great. So great.
And it wasn't particularly close. Like
Michelle Pfeiffer did a pretty good job too.
Yeah, but when he wasn't on screen, I was like, I need him to be on screen.
Yeah,
he's that compelling to watch. And if we were worried about something to top Thanos, or at least get to a Thanos level, I think even at this early stage, that concern has been.
We're good.
Well,
alleviated.
sure. And the fact that we just get an infinite amount of him.
And that's what was so unsettling. And it's actually what I wish the movie leaned into a little bit more. They waited to the very end to kind of to play that up. And really, if you hadn't seen Loki, you were like,
huh?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
But
I can't wait to talk to you about Loki. I cannot wait. As it relates to this, I mean.
Yeah.
But just the dread of knowing there are perhaps even worse versions than this guy, and that this guy, even this guy might have been one of the tame ones, because he mentions, great, now you effed up by not letting me finish what I started.
It sounds like all of the Kangs are scared of each other, kind of.
Yeah. Which is such even that statement that you just made.
That's a complex, freaky thing.
This is a man who is afraid of himself.
Yeah.
And it plays out on a multiversal level. And that's...
I mean, more than likely is what the Kang Dynasty is going to be about. At least my imagine. Like the only thing that's really going to be like his worst enemy is himself.
And I can't remember which Marvel creative was interviewed a couple days ago. It wasn't Feige. I don't remember who it was, but they said there's not going to be a property going forward that is not influenced
by Kang,
by the presence of a Kang.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's not always going to be the baddie. But at least there'll be some kind of
he's around.
Well, and you could argue that like. There really hasn't been, even in the past titles, that hasn't had some kind of Kang influence, because like you really could say he's been there the whole time,
right?
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're going back to Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Now knowing when Janet comes back that's what was going on.
Yeah, right.
It really starts to piece together. What were you going to say, Alyssa?
There's a lot of discussion right now on precisely who, because they've done a little fudging with specific Kang personality and variants so far in MCU.
Okay.
Because He Who Remains from Loki, if you didn't watch Loki, that's sort of how they referred to him. In the comics, that is Kang Prime, and he's the one
is
that
that
sort
right?
of he's the one that invents the TVA and blah blah bloop.
Blah,
But
blah, blah.
now folks are thinking perhaps this is what they're considering Kang Prime, or
Well,
I mean, he was called the Conqueror in there.
I'm thrilled to talk about, like, because this film, like, immediately set off all of my bells and whistles. Like, I flashed right back into the first season of Loki because I was just like, wait a minute. Because just thinking about that last scene when we meet He Who Remains, and we're going through his little, like, you know, time castle or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
Trademark time castle. There was like 4 statues, right? And one of them was like
Yes.
broken. And he assumedly those like are representative of the TVA. What are they called? The 3 like
the 3 the time variants. What were they called?
Timekeepers.
The
timekeepers. Yes.
Yes.
And I kind of believe that the timekeepers are just variants of Kang. And the like potentially like the one that we met in this movie was one of them and was banished. And I remember we got like the 3 and there was one that was broken. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a thought, and also in Loki too, in the Void, you know, with all the different things that were like pruned, like all the different items.
Yeah.
You could probably like a lot of them like have something to do with Kang.
Yeah, I mean, in the comics, Kang invents the timekeepers. Like that's something that he invents. So. I don't know if they will fully have those timekeepers be Kang variants.
Yeah. Or if it's just something he literally invented, like they're just.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, that
what I was getting
in this in the post credits scene, which we can the introduction of Victor Timely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
He actually is. In the comics, he is Kang Prime that goes back in time to do more shit.
And more than likely is going we're probably going to in season 2, I assume we're going to see like the like building of the what do you call
TVA.
it? The TVA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would check out for sure.
So going back to what I was saying, the in the Void, I was thinking about this, the what do you call him? The He Who Remains being the one who like went and pruned like all of the different Kang variants and all of their things, like the Kang Tower, and the Sphinx. You know, like all of these items are all like things from different Kang's universes, you know, or timelines or whatever you want to call it. And then he was the only one remaining, I guess. So, it just kind of puts it in perspective when he gets killed and all the different, you know, all the branches start forming and everything. It's really, like now seeing, what Kang has done and all the different timelines and the incursions and stuff. It just was really, really cool to that like when you see him kind of just sitting there and like, you know, looking around, like you can imagine now like what he knows, and it's very cool. But again, it goes back to why you really need the weight of all 10 years
all the other things
to really, really care about what's happening. But yeah, it made me so excited about Loki. I mean, I already loved Loki, but now I love it even more. Very cool.
And in a funny way, that's kind of where my frustration with the movie lies.
Yeah.
In that it is so reliant on
the other properties.
Everything else. Not because, I mean, you know, all 3 of us have the benefit of having watched and discussed in depth, you know, all of the shows. Really, specifically the shows. If you missed Loki, God help you in this movie.
This movie and the introduction of him into the films doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't.
It's just it was really wild. Like,
Yep.
like if given no context, that film is all over the place. Like, what?
And then as kind of a course correction, I suspect the reason there was so much exposition just written into the dialogue is because Marvel is beginning to understand that not everyone is watching the shows.
Yeah. And also that it was just a long time ago, you know?
And it was. And there are just so many of them that people don't know where to divert their attention to.
Even the last Ant-Man and the Wasp movie was a long time ago.
That was 2019.
Yeah. That was a long effing time ago. So I'm like, and I so when it happened in the film, like I always kind of like, you know, like it can be done right, but I do tend to roll my eyes when when movies treat their audience like they're stupid.
Yeah.
But they kind of sometimes I understand need to, and I think they're getting to that point, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But like when MODOK was being introduced, and they had to like show like the little flashbacks of the actual character, I was just like, okay, yeah, we get it. But like, not everybody does get it, and it's just like, but the fact that you have to do that in order to explain who this person is, it's like. I don't know. I can understand why a critique would not be pleased with that. That being said,
how did you feel about MODOK? I mean, how did you feel about
ridiculous? Like
Baron being in that?
So silly, and I mean, I think it's interesting that they found a way for that character to come back. Was it necessary? No. It did bring. I mean, I'm assuming that they wanted to bring some kind of levity to the situation because it was.
They needed it.
It was funny. Like I did laugh. Like literally every time he showed his face,
it just looked so stupid.
It's so stupid. And the Uncanny Valley is just like so bad. And it's just ridiculous. I think it was right to kill him off because like we don't necessarily need that anymore.
and I wasn't sure in the moment, but his death scene being played the way it was,
so fucking funny.
I thought that was genius.
Yes.
No,
And
we're
Paul,
not going to have a serious like death with him. Like
no.
I credit Paul Rudd when he's like, at least I got to finally be an Avenger.
He's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You made it.
You did.
Yeah, when we saw him in the trailer, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like maybe they're gonna bring AIM in, and we're gonna see that. But I mean, this makes more sense as it is concerned with an Ant-Man property.
Yeah. And then this is just the MODOK of our universe. You know, there definitely could be numerous other ones. The him like getting pulled out of that like liquid and like the baby butt. I'm like, oh my god. Well, because when you really think about it too, it's like you don't want to think about the movie too hard because there are numerous things that make you go, why would you do that? Like, you know, like Kang wasn't that lonely at that point, like that he needed to like rebuild this thing. I mean, it's not like, I guess you could still say he's kind of a person, but
yeah. I think the levity was needed, and I think like, you know, especially coming from the last film was Wakanda Forever, right?
Yep.
Which
was
I watched.
Hella serious.
Which I watched the other day with Chassie. She didn't see it in theaters, and she was like, "This like whole movie is so dark.
Yeah,
like there's no joke. There's no like moment where there's there's always a couple in Marvel
Yeah.
films where
Yep.
there's a little wink and a nod to the audience, like,
This is
yes,
silly.
we're having a serious time, but like this is comic books. So
Yes. It's
winky wink.
okay to be silly.
It's okay. Like, let's all remind ourselves. But I mean, like, I think maybe they tried to do that with like Riri Williams and with some of
Yeah.
her dialogue in Wakanda. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is like heavy and dark
It's very
the whole
serious.
time.
Yeah.
And with Ant-Man and with Paul Rudd being Ant-Man, like you need it to be super silly and
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
absurd. Like you I mean, for God's sake, Michael Douglas like is so obsessed with ants, and he's
Yes.
calling the ants like you gotta be a little silly about
the
it.
ants that got transported with them down into the quantum realm form
Yes.
a civilization.
An ant army, like.
And
Yeah.
I love that. Like, what did he call their form of government? Like he was,
He was like comparing it to
to
socialism.
Oh, yeah.
socialism.
It's
Yeah, and he's just like, please,
They
let's
formed
just
a
not.
class 2 civilization, and
Yeah.
say what you want about socialism, but
Yeah. And Hope is just like, Dad, no. Like,
Let's. Yeah, we
stop.
don't have time for this. Oh God.
Yeah. So I think MODOK was like definitely needed in that aspect.
Yeah, and I really would love. Oh man, that's kind of the one thing. Like, you know, people ask you like if you were invisible for a day, like what you would do. Like I know it's not like the thing, but one thing I would love to do would be to like just be in the room where it happens, like where they you know the executives say like, okay, this is what I want the film to be about. Like where Kevin Feige is like if he's like, I want Quantumania to be about this. Or if he's presented with a script that says, I think Quantumania should be like, he's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Or if it's like they have like a really broad like idea of what Quantumania is going to be about. He's like, okay, yeah, but I also need to have MODOK in it. And he's like, okay. Okay, let me rewrite that script to make MODOK fit somewhere. You know, I just want to know how these decisions get made and why. Or you know, if it just happens, which
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I really do love that now, like in MCU canon, the line like it's never too late to not be a dick.
I mean-
Like, it's fantastic. Like
I'm not a dick.
I'm not a dick. Yeah, super silly.
Very silly.
Have y'all watched the Patton Oswalt?
No,
MODOK?
I completely
MODOK,
missed
no, I
it.
didn't.
No. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I heard it's cute.
He's not a character that I'm like that I just have any.
I never
interest
honestly
in
I
at
never
all.
knew I truthfully I'm a bad Marvel fan because I never knew he existed until he started posting about it
Sure.
gotcha.
on Twitter. I think I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he's just like.
Well,
a
and
weird...
I follow Jeff on Twitter, and he mentioned he was tweeting the night the movie came out, and he said it had been his dream to write for screen Kang the Conqueror and MODOK,
And then he did.
and I mean, how cool!
I mean,
Yeah, he fucking
and
did.
I thought as far as MODOK goes, I mean, he's an acquired taste, but yeah, as we've
Yes.
said, I think that was as well as you could have done it
5,000%.
in the Marvel universe on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. Because as far as all their properties go, you might have been able to make him fit into like the Guardians of the Galaxy like realm too, because it's like sort of
More
silly
absurd.
and fun and absurd. But yeah, it in this way, I think it was a I don't want to say an easy out, but kind of.
Yeah.
Um.
One thing that I didn't realize when I was doing some searching and stuff for our chat today is that this movie is the first time in the films that the word variant has been used.
Wait, is
and
it
I had
the
to, like-
first time, really?
Yeah, I had to
films.
think
Oh,
about it because
interesting.
I was like, well, didn't they say variant in Spider-Man or Doctor Strange? And
I guess they didn't then, huh?
they didn't. They didn't.
How
they called
weird.
them multiverse versions or whatever. But like
Mm.
the word variant was purposefully used in this, and if you watched Loki, then that means even more to you.
Yeah, and it definitely did.
Also, Daniel mentioned incursions That's a big deal. That was presented in film lingo in Doctor Strange.
Right.
Yep.
Which
And,
was the depiction of incursions in that film was terrifying. That was
real scary.
Yeah, they are adapting Hickman's Avengers
yeah.
in full. And looking again, going back to like looking at this Kang as bad as he was, as maybe not being the worst one is troubling to think about.
Very troubling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there's technically an infinite amount of Kangs, I mean, there really is no most evil. There's always gonna be somebody more evil than you.
So this is a
Which is
good
scary.
segue to talk about the Kangs that we did get to see in the mid credits
Oh yeah, sure.
scene. So we had Immortus,
Mm-hmm.
who is a real interesting character. He was the one that was talking and saying, like, you know, Earth 616 is like aware of the multiverse now, like we need to figure this out.
And it was interesting. It was interesting to see how they all like act around each other, because like it was a very short scene, but you kind of gathered that they all sort of not revered, but like they like respect Immortus maybe more than their other ones.
I mean, like Immortus, like he lives in this like really gray area too. Like there are times in the comics where he actually helps the Avengers.
Weird.
Like there's some
like for his own
stuff
devices,
there.
assumedly, but
not always. Like it's like
really,
yeah, it's really interesting. Then we obviously had.
Well, I guess with an infinite amount of Kangs, there's gonna be good ones too, assumedly, right?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, I think,
yeah.
Yeah, I think like absolutely. They're all kind of.
I mean, unless it's like what was the word that we used?
A nexus being.
Oh, well, nexus being, yes, but you know, the like Tony Stark always needing to die, like what? It's
that was a Nexus event.
A Nexus event, is that what it's called? Like if a Nexus event is that Kang always needs to be a douchebag. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Sure,
the one that I was very excited to see was Ramatut.
Yes. Very cool.
I think we kind of know where he might be going. We just got a big show about an Egyptian superhero named Moon Knight.
And they were more than winking at it.
Yeah, they've made some.
Also, Ramatut deals with the Fantastic Four. He deals with the X-Men. That's going to be coming around the mountain. And then we had the Scarlet Centurion.
Yeah.
He was the guy in the red suit, kind of.
You like barely could see him, huh?
Kind of tubey looking dude. And then we've got, you know, there was the line of like, well, who all did you invite here? And he said, all of them. All of them. And then we see, I'll put it on our Instagram story. It's like an exact shot from the comics of the Council of Kangs.
Oh, yeah.
In their
like
appearance.
right from the comics.
Yeah, I think it's Avengers like 19 or something. They show that for the first time.
And you'll note a scroll variant.
I saw
of
that
Kang.
scroll. That was scary.
Yeah, we're gonna probably see. Yeah, I'm here. If we're in Secret Wars. No, what's it called?
Kang Dynasty.
No. Secret
Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
There
it is.
You're talking about yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna see Kang's, like, you know, dipping his fingers into all the different things, I wonder if we're gonna see if they might, you know, if we might see something to do with Kang in that show. It'd be interesting.
Could be.
Could be.
Well, at some point he's got to start, and well, not at some point. It started in Ant-Man, where he starts to reveal himself to our heroes, and
right.
And
well,
as our Earth becomes more aware of the multiverse, the more likely they come to.
Well, yeah, and I'm curious about like the Ant-Man's choice at the end to just be kind of like thinking about it and being like, oh God, have I, did I do the wrong thing? Did I just like unleash and he's like, nah, it's gonna be fine. Like I like that choice to like kind of just brush it off. Like, is that really gonna be his choice, or is he gonna like go and like tell all of his Avenger friends, hey guys, I just had this like moment that is probably pretty important.
Well, it's kind of an echo of what Tony went through the entire Infinity Saga. Of like, think about his experience in the first Avengers movie, flying through the wormhole, and that he suffers PTSD from that. And then when Wanda, when she has yet to be redeemed, when she shows Tony a vision of the future, and he's burdened by this pending invasion at some point, and the madness near madness it drives him to. I mean, he creates Ultron because of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder if maybe they're going down a road with
Ant-Man.
With Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe he's burdened with.
It does feel like they're kind of teasing
knowledge.
Something, aren't they? Yeah, like they're teasing that he's gonna be like struggling with this.
So, like, compared to, we talked about how this movie is just on a gargantuan level compared to the other two movies.
Wackadoo.
Do we think Ant-Man as a character, or even just kind of a self-contained franchise, was the right choice for kickstarting
Phase 5?
Well, not just Phase 5, but this whole overarching plot, plot that we're going on now, the multiversal saga. And
I was thinking about this morning, and I asked myself, if Ant-Man were to be introduced today, would he have a movie or would he have a TV show?
That's
and
interesting.
I think they probably would have given him a TV show.
Maybe.
That's just a feeling I have based on.
But it's interesting because like they're like this sort of like lighthearted comedy like situation. I feel like I like it in this shorter form, because I think that if like in a episodic, like,
it could get tiring.
Yeah. Kind of like, honestly, like She-Hulk. I think honestly after seeing that, I would have rather have seen a longer film.
Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm just like, the way that they're kind of introing characters, since they do have the TV format now.
Yeah.
But that was a little diversion. But Dino, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know if Ant-Man was the storytelling to
do this.
I
mean, as far as this particular Kang, being in the quantum realm, I think I'm not sure which came first, the chicken or the egg. If the idea of a Kang being stuck in the quantum realm was because they're like, we need something for the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. Oh, I have an idea. We'll put Kang in the quantum realm. Or, but if they're like, oh, there's a Kang in the quantum realm. Well, the only guy that we have in the roster that would be the right person to do this would be, or the person that would just like maybe accidentally end up in the quantum realm would probably be Ant-Man and his group of people.
Sure. Yeah, I think and it's hard to say which came first, but in the comics, Kang is not in the quantum realm.
That's not a thing. Okay, I was curious.
But he is a ruler over another realm called Limbo, which is very, very similar to quantum realm.
Yeah, I think we're just merging
it exists,
concepts.
Yeah,
here.
it exists somewhere between space and time. And
sure.
Blah blah blue.
And you know what? You saying that kind of goes back to how they describe the quantum realm in this movie in particular, and that it exists outside of all of that space-time universes.
Well, that was the thing I wanted to clarify. Is it all of the quantum realm or just a portion of it?
All of the quantum realm lives outside of space and time, or
because I wasn't sure, because the way she was describing it, Lisa, at the time, and I might have just not heard it right, and like the words got jumbled in my head, but It sounded like a lot of the quantum realm does exist in the realm of time, and then
Going
but they went
deeper
past
into
it.
it.
So there is like a portion of it that isn't. Because there was like for instance, like there's parts of the quantum realm that have like time vortexes, and the portion where what's his fucking face? The Ant-Man was stuck for 5 years. It only felt like, was it 5 hours to him or something like that, or 5 days? I can't. No, not days.
I'm not sure if they've clarified that. That's definitely something that would be answered in the comics.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna Google on the fandom website and see if they got
I'm
some
sure.
stuff on
I'm
there.
sure that's answered, like the different areas of the quantum realm.
But like I said, like this movie definitely like made my imagination run wild, like because I just learning all these brand new rules for the first time, but also and refining some of the rules that we thought we knew about the quantum realm. It was so interesting.
I cannot wait for whatever weird goo juice is going to be sold at Avengers Campus.
Oh, yes,
I'm absolutely going to go drink that goo.
That would be
whatever
very
it is.
funny.
They've got to do like goo pops or like, I mean, because they have Pym's Test Kitchen. They've got like the main food places there, so like they could easily do like a goo juice of some kind.
Easy, like a shot. Yeah, uh-huh.
They bet they need to be on that.
Yeah.
They need to be on that.
I will say that I was bummed because I do love Bill Murray a lot, and I was kind of just expecting his character to be a little more consequential or something, or like to be more a part of the gang or whatever it was. But
yeah, he is a character from the comics, Kylar.
Oh my god, my dog just farted in her sleep, and my god.
Maggie, she is your child.
Maggie, oh my goodness, that smelled really bad, Mickey.
Yeah, Kylar he's in the comics, but he's very inconsequential, and he pretty much dies.
Yeah.
He pretty much dies immediately in the comics. So
sure,
yeah.
Although they didn't, I was half expecting him to get eaten by that character because it kind of felt like that's what they were like gonna do, but then he didn't. So I was like, oh, are they trying to say that they're just like, we don't want to like show him being dead just in the case that Bill Murray actually wants to do another sequel.
Yeah, I thought that was funny that like that's who she was with.
Yes,
like romantically in the quantum realm.
And I love that it was like such a cute and funny dynamic that they were kind of like, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Hank.
Yeah, because Hank is like, I did too.
We both didn't know if we were ever going to see each other again. So.
Oh yeah, do we think that was an Easter egg, by the way? Because I don't know what was the character that, or the person that he said that she was, or that
he said he slept with Linda.
Linda, yeah, your mom.
My mom, Linda Love Simmons.
Yeah.
She's in the MCU.
Yeah, I could see that.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do we think of
basically a bionic woman? So,
but yeah, so there's not a Linda in the Marvel universe, is there? I need to look this up.
I mean, maybe that was an Easter egg. Maybe they'll decide that it was an Easter egg tomorrow.
While we're looking up, what do we think of Catherine Newton as Cassie?
I really like her. I think that
she was cute.
She's cute. She's got the right kind of like energy for Cassie Lang, I think. Just kind of like defiant, opinionated.
Yeah.
But still very much so a teenager, doesn't exactly know who she is yet, which is I'm excited. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna see her again.
Yeah, I wondered.
Oh.
I don't know, the chemistry between Scott and Cassie in this movie
wasn't your fave.
I'm not sure it was my favorite.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
And I don't know why that is. I can't put my finger on it, but
yeah, it's hard to say too. I mean, you never know if like they were like very comfortable around each other, and then the direction was like, this needs to feel more like a teenage daughter and dad. Like you can't be like, you're the world's best grandma. You've got to be like, I kind of hate your guts for stuff. I don't know.
Just to put a button on the conversation before, Linda Jane Carter is the night nurse.
Oh.
Okay.
So maybe he was banging the night nurse. I mean, the comic book she does look like she's pretty sexy. She's got large, voluptuous.
What
Parts.
comics is she in?
Mm,
Never heard of her.
you never heard of the Night Nurse?
Nope.
Hello, nurse.
One of the heroes for hire.
Apparently, Doctor Strange and the Night Nurse make out at some point.
Oh.
Like
well,
she's in the Blade world. Like
Oh.
she's
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
supernatural. She's in
Whoa.
Supernatural Marvel.
Super,
if I
okay,
remember
supernatural
correctly.
stuff. All right.
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right.
Doctor Strange, Firestar, Captain America commented that he had no idea where the title Night Nurse had originated and theorized that it developed by a superhero seeking her services. Yeah, I don't. It seems pretty much like it doesn't sound like she's got. Oh, the Night Nurse operating on Doctor Strange. So yeah, it sounds like Doctor Strange in the spooky realm is where she
Okay.
pops up.
Interesting that they've moved Janet, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, that they've kind of moved her to the forefront.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Of
glad they gave her
Marvel.
something because she's like a freaking
She's
like
a very good actor.
Oh yeah, she did a wonderful job.
she's an incredible
Um,
actress, and also, I mean, in defense of their choice to bring her in, into the forefront is because like she like that character was one of the original Avengers.
Correct. Yeah. She's the OG Wasp.
But think about the insight she now offers
Mm-hmm.
going forward. Like
Yeah.
I really feel like they took Janet and made her one of the key pieces of the entire Marvel
Yeah,
universe. now,
kind
because
of. Yeah,
She discovered Kang.
she's
Like,
been there longer than anybody else.
And she's got these like, quantum realm healing powers.
Right.
So that's definitely
One I was a little bit interested is that they didn't bring back. Wait a minute, am I going crazy? Did she die in that movie? The Phantom lady.
the ghost.
Yeah.
No,
No,
she didn't die.
No, I believe she's going to be in Thunderbolts.
Oh, I believe
Ah,
that. I believe that.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I
I
think
was just
she's going to be a part of the team.
I was just interested they didn't really touch on her at all in this.
Yeah. I think it would have been a little, especially since the majority of the film did take place in the quantum realm.
Right.
That
Yeah.
would have been a lot to introduce.
You know who I missed?
Yeah.
Who?
Louise.
Me too. So much.
Why didn't
and
they
that-
have him in this?
But
why?
I know it's kind of silly, but honestly, I think that like truly like the like that character is like what set like him and Paul Rudd are like what really set the style of
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
films.
And that's why it is no exaggeration to say not having Louise in this movie kind of made it not feel like an Ant-Man movie.
Kinda, yeah.
I was like, part of me, and because during the credits I was like, oh dang, he wasn't there, and I was like, ooh, maybe the post credit, like maybe we're gonna get like a post credit scene of him like telling somebody the story
Of Kang.
like
Yeah.
of Kang, like,
Okay, so there was like this guy.
so there's
and-
this guy, and then there's like, and then like Kang is like talking over him. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in
yeah.
charge now. Like all of this stuff.
that
would've
would have been fucking great. Oh well.
I mean,
I mean, maybe
taking
it was-
Louise
maybe
down
it
to
was
the
an
quantum
idea.
realm would have been.
I
think
mean,
that
he
was
would
a
have been
missed
like
opportunity.
screaming
Yeah, I do
the
too.
entire time.
Because you're right. Like there was nobody that went down with them that wasn't like capable of handling themselves. And I think that kind of like having somebody that is like completely a fish out of water. I mean, obviously they're all fish out of water because like the only person who's been there is Janet. But like but at least they're all fucking superheroes. So they know how to
Right.
handle themselves. Even
We did-
the daughter, you know what I mean? But like to have him there would have like A, added funny, and B, added danger. You know?
Yes.
Yep.
We did our friend David Desmalkian voiced Veb.
Oh, really?
The goo
Oh.
guy.
That's cool.
So I was like, oh, here he is just playing another character in an Ant-Man movie. Also,
Freaking
like,
awesome.
he is just the superhero movie guy. He is in everything. It's just
And
so
also
insane.
anything Christopher Nolan does, I feel like.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's fun. It would have been cool. Maybe they had like Louise like voice one of the
Anything, I
Other-
guess. Yeah. I actually, but I that's another room where it happens thing. I want to know, like,
Yeah.
was it a scheduling conflict or was it, just they just didn't
He's
think
out.
that
He's
he
out
fit?
of. He's out of contract with Marvel now, and it would have
Yeah.
been like a whole other thing.
Maybe he
Who
pissed
knows?
everybody off. He doesn't strike me as a
He
guy
seems
who'd be like a
he
douchebag.
seems so nice.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
If he
Yeah.
is a douche, that would be so confusing
That would be very confusing.
and
Yeah.
sad.
And also sad, correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's probably a miss for me for sure. A miss. Because I think that, I mean, truly, I just saw the movie last night, so it's still kind of like
Sure.
marinating and sitting with me. Like the initial viewing, like I was just kind of like, wow, because I saw it in IMAX and I was pretty close to the
Yeah, I did
screen,
too.
so just
Yes.
eye
You were
candy,
actually
eye
in
candy.
the Ant-Man movie.
I was inside of it, yes.
Yeah.
And just just enjoying the overall design of it. It was very, very cool.
The special effects, like, I feel like they were incredible.
Well, yeah, and I feel like a lot of times we kind of like, kind of roll our eyes and go, oh, another like fully CGI thing. They're just a bunch of green screens. And there is an element to that where I'm like, oh man, I wish there was some practical stuff. I mean,
More practical sets.
how in the world would you do this
How could you?
practical?
How could you?
How could
Yeah.
you? And for doing a mostly CGI, at least what seemed mostly CGI film, it was very beautiful to look at.
Yeah, and I particularly like the design of Kang, and
Yeah,
and how it is probably one of the more comic accurate costume depictions of him, but it still feels like
grounded in reality almost.
some kind. Yeah, it has some kind of plausibility, whatever that
Yeah,
means.
sure.
But even when he descends from the tower and just starts taking everybody out.
Oh my
and
God!
I loved the fight choreography and the specifically, and this is kind of if they were going to lean into kind of the melodrama of it all, when we get to that final confrontation between Scott and Kang, where they're just Kang is just whooping his ass,
Curb stomping him basically. Yeah.
I mean, it was just. There were people audibly in my screening just going, oh. It's like I could have, I couldn't have used more violence necessarily. I just mean in the movie, I think it gave it this edge that, if they wanted to differentiate Ant-Man from the other two movies, tonally maybe they could have leaned into that a bit more, but or at least earlier in the movie. To where that doesn't just kind of, maybe it was by design, but it kind of felt like such a stark.
Sure.
Oh, you said Stark.
Yeah, it did. It definitely felt like
It's like, oh, whoa,
that wasn't
okay, whoa.
at all how all of the other fight scenes went.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very violent.
Yeah, and it was kind of I because that part actually was in the trailer, and I completely forgot about it, and it definitely was surprising to me. I was like, oh shit, because I thought.
And you could tell Jonathan Majors had been training for Creed 3. When
Yeah,
he was shooting
definitely.
this movie, because he is a very built man.
Yeah, he's beefy.
Yeah, it's just a shame he's like not having any success or work in his life.
A bummer for him.
At 33 years old.
Oh my
Jeez,
gosh.
he's only 33 years old. Oh my God, good Lord.
Ooh.
Oh my God, what was I thinking? Oh shoot, my brains.
It'll come back too.
Yeah, it will. It was something about Kang.
Okay, so the Marvel Universe, as it stands now, we have now entered officially Phase 5.
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
It is about Kang, and it's like, who hurt him? Do we know about this Kang in particular? Like
Himself.
Yeah, is it
Apparently.
I mean, like, what made him originally so fucking angry? I know that he obviously, like, went on a, like, I want to be a conqueror, and, like, his other Kangs were like, whoa, that's a little, like, we're all conquerors, but, like, that's like a little too much conquering, man. And then they like, put him into the quantum realm, past the quantum realm, like into the, the other part where you can't do time. And yeah, but I mean, like what happened before that? Like that's the mystery that I'm still so. But I'm just curious. Like, is there any like, I'm sure that at some point Marvel has like tried to go into his like, his initial background.
You got to read the comics. I have not read.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, all of those answers are absolutely in
They're there. I want
if that's what Marvel Studios is going to use, that's a different.
Sure.
question
They'll probably maybe
entirely
touch on it, but maybe do their own flavor.
I mean, it really boils down to, and I've only read one. Well, in addition to his brief appearance in Hickman's Avengers, because Kang is not heavily involved. They're basically substituting Doctor Doom with Kang in this case.
Well, now Kang, from what I understand, I mean, I haven't read it, but I at least he was like one of the OG like baddies of the original Avengers.
No. I know. I'm
Yes,
talking
but
about
not
specifically Jonathan
Hickman's.
Hickman's
the newer ones.
Secret Wars arc.
Yes.
Doom is at the center of it, and
Right.
Really it's Immortus and somebody else are just briefly involved.
Sure.
But from what I remember, so Kang was originally he's mentioned this, a scientist from the 31st century, but in the comics he is a descendant of Reed Richards. His name is Nathaniel Richards.
Yes.
And basically what happens is he discovers time travel and goes back to Egypt. We know that story. It's very benign. And then a bunch of shit happens in Egypt, and he's basically thwarted. And now that he has the power of time travel, he starts going back and trying to correct things, and then makes a giant mess.
Got it. So it's like it's within this mess that he's made that he trying to correct it, that it sort of snowballs into this like, I need to control everything kind of. Is that
or
because I'm the only one that understands really what time is.
Right.
That's the other
part. He and Janet have that conversation.
Yeah.
He's like, who but me?
Right. I love that they said like, what are you gonna do, or like, what's your plan? And he said, win. Like that's his only motivation now. It's like, but why? Why do you need to win? And like I love his character because I really want to know the psychology of what leads a man to do those awful things. So interesting. The thing about time too is about like everything happening all at once at the like, you know what I mean, like it's like whatever has happened has already happened, like it's like because time to him doesn't really exist like it does to us.
It's not linear. Yeah, it's not linear.
So like at the moment where all he who remains is killed, it's like as if like
it's happening.
Everything has already happened basically, kind of. So.
Yeah. I did love that
it still blows my mind.
I
don't understand how that works.
Yeah, we're getting into the brain hurty part of Loki where we were just every single episode of Loki like,
ow,
what?
No.
I love that they kept the design of the timeline.
Me too.
Yeah.
Looking like that blue swirly.
Even going back to Endgame when when Bruce is with the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. Yeah, and she lays it out on the
and she lays out the
time,
and how the stones affect that timeline. So I appreciate the continuity there.
Totally. Yeah.
But so this larger universe now.
Yes.
Where we're into Phase 5.
Yes.
Yeah. A few of the recent movies have gotten rather tepid critical responses and varying responses from audiences.
Yeah, even
the
Wakanda
TV
Forever
shows
got a less it still got a okay review, but okay for a Wakanda movie feels weird. Like
I believe Shang-Chi
was
was
90 something.
Yeah, Shang-Chi has been the highest.
Was at 91.
Yeah.
And again, this is just Rotten Tomatoes. It's a
Well, I mean,
It's just aggregate of reviews. But
yeah, and I mean, it's not something to poo-poo away, because I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is like, and to understand Rotten Tomatoes better, it's not like when they give you a percentage, it's not like, most people get, if it was like 84%, it doesn't mean that like, everybody, because everybody's not grading on the same scale. They're not saying like we give
it's
it
positive or negative.
Exactly.
That's all they're aggregating. It's positive or negative.
Yes,
review.
84% of people thought the movie was at least better
than
not. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But with some of the kind of inconsistent feelings towards really everything that happened in Phase 4 post Endgame, what do you think that is a symptom of? Is this superhero fatigue finally setting in?
Yes.
Could it also be? Well, I won't lead you. Tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Well, you've already led us, so.
I mean, I suppose it could be fatigue. I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly. I feel
I have thoughts. Yes, I have thoughts and feelings.
good.
Yes.
Good.
But by all means, share one.
Say
of them.
Yeah. I imagine that, like, after seeing so many Marvel films and properties, you start to recognize the equation more, I think, because they do like a very similar equation that they follow for each type of thing. And I think that once you start to see the structure of it, you're kind of like waiting for things to happen, and it becomes like less of a surprise and like less thrilling and more of a, like, oh, here it comes. And then it happens, and you're like, well, that was fun. Or like, oh, that was disappointing because I was expecting this and it wasn't that, Yeah, I'm not so sure. But it's interesting because, like, that being said, because like that makes me sound like if we had seen, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like one of these other films, like before we saw like Endgame or even earlier than that, like the original Iron Man or something like that we would like this one better. I don't think that's the case.
No,
So it's not just that.
I think, like, I look back to, and you look back at the first couple phases and leading up to Endgame and everything, and like we have to remember too that like not every single movie
Was a banger.
was like, oh my gosh, what the heck?
Yeah. Totally.
You might look at it and be like, oh wow, like, Thor Dark World's like, whoa, that
even the
I hated
original Thor, I know we're like ragging on Thor, but like it was a cute movie. It was a fine
right
film.
like you could be like, okay, sure, that's
A
fine.
lot of people
or,
didn't like Iron Man 2,
maybe,
and
exactly,
I effing love that movie.
Yeah,
Totally
exactly. So I think we need to remind ourselves that like not everything in the first couple phases was the most incredible 90% Rotten Tomatoes.
I want to say that, and this isn't like saying that the Marvel fans are spoiled or anything like that, but like I do think that we were so blessed to have like truly a remarkable two films, not just one, but like the Infinity War and Endgame films were truly like some of the most remarkable
Absolutely.
films. Not even just like superhero films, just films. Like
just
they were
films.
well structured and funny and scary and thrilling and all the things, and well written. And
but that goes back to the question that we asked at the beginning of this episode. Would they have been that without the 8 years prior of all of that world building, all of that character development?
You
Would
know,
they have been that?
Yeah, and I agree with that into certain aspects, because I do know that there are some people, people that we even know too,
That just saw Endgame or something.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, that was a really cool movie. I have no idea why things happened, but holy shit, that was cool. So I
can agree with
Oh
that.
yeah, they're visually cool, and just to see that many superheroes on screen at once. But there's no way it
There's
has
no way
the
that
cultural
they-
impact
no.
it has if you don't have everything that came before it.
Totally.
No, I mean,
totally.
think it like you like going into Endgame, hearing "On Your Left," like that doesn't mean
Yeah.
a goddamn thing to you, but
Totally.
that made all of us weep.
Yeah.
And every time a character walks through one of those portals, you
Yeah,
think
you're
back
like,
to the
oh my
movie
gosh,
that was
this
dedicated
is
to that
happening. This is everything that has happened is leading up to this.
Yes, absolutely. So
I think like we're in this, you know, we had phase 4, which is primarily the Disney Plus series with a couple of films.
And it was honestly true. And it was just in the overall tonality of it. It was the mourning, the mourning phase.
Yeah.
The coming to grips with everything that just happened.
Yes. And this feels like we are, and it, like seeing Scott Lang like walking down the street with a smile on his face, you know, like it does feel like we have turned a new leaf into a like, okay, we're done with mourning, and now we're
into some other stuff.
Yeah. And but like kind of going back to what I was saying is that I think that Endgame definitely set an insanely high precedent for our expectations. And I don't. I'm not saying that they, you know, yeah. I don't know if it's fair, but it's not necessarily fair to expect the same kind of quality film or show going forward. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's a good segue into kind of what I think is the problem right now.
Yeah. What are
they're
your
doing
thoughts?
too much too quickly.
Yeah.
And once Disney Plus was an invention after Endgame came out.
Right.
So,
True.
So now that they have this medium and think of all the shows we've already gotten on top of the movies, and even Feige saying at the very beginning of Disney Plus, that anything that happened there wouldn't necessarily be required watching.
And
it would
they're like, just kidding.
It would be good supplemental material, extra character building.
He retconned himself.
That is not at all true.
No.
Especially as far as Loki and WandaVision. If you didn't see WandaVision before Multiverse of Madness, you were like, what?
Well, and now going into like the Marvels, like you had to have seen
Captain
Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Why would you even give a shit about her?
And WandaVision with Monica
true,
Rambeau.
Yeah. Like,
How
who are these people? Right.
So from that perspective, I think they're introducing too much too quickly. But
that's fair.
Why that also is a problem, another reason that's a problem, is you are directly affecting the quality of each property when you are trying to stretch yourself across all of them and hold them up to that standard, which might be unfair to reach, but you're not even giving yourself an opportunity to do it.
You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
And you hear all these stories recently about rushed production schedules and CGI artists being overworked and it's no accident that I think it was like in the last couple of weeks Kevin Feige said that they are slamming the brakes.
Yeah, they're pulling back.
Oh, they
which
are.
I think is so good.
I think it's good.
It sounds like Secret Invasion.
Yeah, let's focus on like a TV show and a movie a year.
It sounds like Secret Invasion and Loki are going to be the only 2 Marvel shows this year.
Yeah.
Great.
And they've moved Ironheart to next year.
Yeah.
Great.
We cannot rush to the next Endgame.
Yeah.
And I think there was this excitement, especially post-pandemic, once everything
the rush to more money.
It's like, we have to get back to Endgame as quickly as possible. They've already given us the names for the next 2 Avengers movies.
Right.
Which I mean,
astounding.
Yeah.
But really, you know what I mean, like, this is not bagging on Kevin Feige, but just on the Disney, like, you know, moguls. Like, you know, we see movie titles but what they see is like, they see money. They see like, okay, and they're literally budgeting out their year. You know what I mean? Like they're like,
Right.
like if we can spend this much because we know we're gonna make at least this much on this film and this film and this TV show. You know what I mean? So like they, and like that, I believe that is how our like timeline gets made now. It's like completely based off of money.
Sure, but I mean, it was encouraging to hear Feige go, you know what, we need to go back to the way we were doing things.
Yeah.
That's good, and it sounds kind of like they're getting the taste of the Star Wars syndrome.
They are.
Right. And yeah, it's very similar to what we talked about recently in our Andor breakdown, that we were just like, they took the time on this
Give it
show
time.
and it shows.
It showed. It definitely did.
Well, and just like Star Wars, distance makes the heart grow fonder. And I think about even just the year in between Infinity War and Endgame,
Sure.
of considering what that was going to be like. I mean, having to wait
Yeah.
an entire calendar year, and then the
Yeah.
payoff being what it was. It was. I mean,
Made it all worth it. Yeah.
and give your artists time to do their work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like if that were the case, if we were given more time in between films and TV shows, would this movie have been significantly different, or would it have even existed at all?
You know where I think it would have affected it the most? I do think some of the CGI could have been cleaned up a little bit, but where I think it struggled the most was, I have no knowledge of rewrites, but you always assume they take place
Yeah.
just for continuity's sake. But there was so much exposition in this movie, and I
Nothing
think that
can
is
kill a show like too much exposition.
but I think that's a symptom of there being
That was a
so much
musical quote, by the way.
information. Yes, I got it.
We got it. An hour and
I think-
15 in.
We did
I
it.
think that was a symptom of there being so much information that they assumed people
Yeah.
haven't taken the time to learn
Mm-hmm.
from the shows, that they were like, okay, we have to simultaneously tell a self-contained story while also catching everybody up, assuming they didn't
On
watch.
like 5
Yeah.
television
Loki.
shows. Yeah.
And so all the dialogue becomes this very informational transaction, as
It's
opposed
treating
to
your
moving
audience like
the
you're
sto-
stupid.
Well,
And
it's
I think that
treating,
would-
it's treating, treating your audience like you have to give them that information, or
Right.
they're not going to be able to understand what's
But
going
if say
to happen.
Loki
Yeah.
and WandaVision were the only things to have come out on Disney
Mm-hmm.
Plus in a given year,
Right.
that gives everybody time to make those cornerstone events, and don't downplay them because
Yeah.
they're TV. If I think
Well, yeah,
Feige
because
shot
if
himself in the
we-
foot from the very beginning
Uh-huh.
by saying
Yeah,
this
if we
isn't
would have
required.
if we would have had Wanda and Loki, and then into the next calendar year had Multiverse
Falcon
of
Winter
Madness
Soldier,
and this, like, I don't know. I think you hit the nail right on the head, Dino. It's all about
Timing.
timing, and
Definitely a big portion of it for sure. Probably.
I am glad to see that Feige was like, we are gonna
Dial
pump
it
the
back.
brakes a bit on the Disney Plus stuff right now, because we need to.
But think about it from even our humble perspective.
We're
we
so
had to-
humble.
We've had to make compromises on how we cover shows because we don't
Yeah,
have time
we
to
can't
do it.
possibly do everything.
No.
Which shouldn't be the case with Marvel specifically.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
and
But
Star Wars.
perhaps they're learning.
And Star Wars.
We'll
Star Wars.
see. We'll see. I will say that at least in between, because when was Loki season 1? Was that 3 years ago now?
No,
2
that
years.
was 21.
21.
Okay, so 2 years. So I am glad that they gave us like that. That feels like a nice breath.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I mean, as far as Quantumanium goes, but think about everything that's happened in between those two. You forget Loki even happened altogether.
Yes.
Because we've watched Hawkeye, because we've watched Miss Marvel, we've
Moon
watched
Knight, Miss Marvel,
She-Hulk, Moon
She-Hulk.
Knight.
1000%.
I mean, yikes.
Yeah. Wow. And that's
Multiverse
just-
of Madness.
that's
We've
to
had a
name a
Thor
few.
movie, a Black Panther movie, and that's all
Yeah.
since Loki came out. So it's just like,
Insane.
It is astounding. Yeah. It just yeah, because we don't it's interesting. Yeah, because you're phase 1 through 3
Yeah.
phase 1 through 3 like happened over the span of 10 years. They're trying to do this in like
Correct.
they're trying to do this in 5 years.
So
Like,
phase 4 was two and a half.
2021 to
So,
now.
yeah.
We've done it in 2 years.
yeah,
2 years.
it's
That's crazy.
it is cuckoo nuts. So yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
And I think too, like, which I understand this part of it too. I mean, they have, and Kevin Feige has said this like repeatedly. He's like, we have so much amazing source material to pull from. I mean, the comics, like, there's so much, and so I understand the want to just be like, well, we can. I mean, we have all of these stories, these characters already here. Like, there's, obviously we've got to create things for them, but like they already exist.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, let's go. Let's just like pump them
Let's
out.
do it.
Right.
But
And he probably doesn't
then-
want to be like, 70 years old by the time Kang Dynasty comes around.
I don't think there's any threat of that being the case.
Yeah,
No.
well.
but but I think that there's a lot to say for just taking you don't have to take a crazy amount of time, but enough time so that there isn't stuff that feels purely
Well, so everything's earned. By the
Yeah.
time we get to Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, and we see every variant of every superhero who's ever been on screen for Marvel.
mm-hmm.
I mean, you thought Endgame was crazy.
Yeah, just
my
wait.
suspicion is that movie
Mhm.
is going to be bonkers.
Yeah,
Absolutely
we're gonna get it.
bonkers.
We're gonna get a taste of that in Secret Invasion
Yeah,
with the scrolls and everything.
This,
but I mean, even bringing in Fox's X-Men, like they could do
Mhm.
anything.
truly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could bring in their old failed Fantastic Four characters as
mean-
variants. Like they could do any of it.
Patrick Stewart has hinted as much.
Yeah, name dropping Ian McKellen. How
Yeah.
dare you?
Uh-huh.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
Ah,
very
But
interesting.
we want that to be earned when we get there.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, not like,
Amen.
oh boy, here comes another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, we are like we are in such a blessed place
Yes.
that we are fat
gluttonous.
we are fat rich kids sitting at the table
I've got
being like,
gout. I've
"Oh,
got Marvel gout.
please no more chocolate cake. I couldn't possibly."
I've got gout of the Marvel.
Oh my god.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Jeez.
All right. Well,
Well, I think that's probably it
let's
then,
stop
right?
talking.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
truly, we
enough
could
talking
talk about
from
it for a
us.
long time. I'm just thrilled about, truly, if anything, this movie has just made me more excited about Loki season 2. So I
Hey.
can't wait till we
Yeah.
get there. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm.
All right, great. Well, if you stuck along to the end of this hour and a halfer, congratulations.
You fucking did it.
If you didn't, you are a traitor.
You're not a
Bye-bye.
real fan. Who are you?
Yeah, if leave us a comment on Instagram or YouTube or reach out to us. We love to engage with all of you.
Let us know what you thought about the movie.
Yeah, tell us what you
I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yes, this is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom.
It is.
It is.
Mhm.
I am Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.